My wife has been secretly drugging my food with sleeping pills for 4 months so she could go out without me knowing, then blamed my poor health for my exhaustion. So I did this with the hidden camera footage, throwaway for obvious reasons. Long-time lurker, first-time poster. I honestly never thought I'd be one of those people writing one of these posts, but here I am. This is going to be long, sorry. So my wife Pamela and I have been married for 8 years. We've generally had a pretty solid marriage. I mean, we did have a rough patch about 3 years ago where we actually separated for like 2 months after a huge fight about having kids. I was ready. She wanted to wait. But we worked through it, and things have been mostly good since then. I work as a software developer for a mid-sized tech company, been working mostly from home since COVID happened, and just kind of never went back to the office full-time. Pamela works as an event coordinator, which means she sometimes has to work evenings for various functions and stuff. So for the past few months, like 4 months or so, I've been feeling really tired all the time. And not just normal tired, but like extreme fatigue that's been getting progressively worse. At first, it was just feeling more tired than usual in the mornings, but it's gotten to the point where sometimes I literally can't even remember going to bed the night before. I just wake up feeling completely out of it and groggy and disoriented. Pamela has been super concerned about it, or at least I thought she was, and actually was the one who first suggested I go see my doctor about it. I've been to the doctor multiple times over the last few months, had blood work done, even did a sleep study, but everything keeps coming back normal. The weird thing is, Pamela keeps bringing up specific conditions like she's convinced it's chronic fatigue syndrome, or thyroid issues, or even early onset dementia. I'm only 37, even though none of the tests show anything wrong. She's been really attentive through all this, making me these special healthy dinners and buying all these supplements she finds online that are supposed to help with energy levels. Anyway, last month, my sister Catherine, female, 39, came to visit, and the first thing she said when she saw me was, "Holy shit, Steve, you look terrible," and kept insisting I get a second opinion from her doctor friend. She kept giving Pamela these weird looks the whole visit that I didn't really understand at the time. I started noticing something strange a few weeks ago. The nights when I feel the absolute worst, like when I can't remember going to bed and wake up feeling like I've been hit by a truck, always seem to be on nights when Pamela says she has to work late at events or when she goes out with her college friends for girls' night. I didn't think much of it at first, but then it happened like 5 times in a row, and I couldn't ignore the pattern anymore. I tried to talk to Pamela about it last week. I mentioned that I felt especially bad after certain dinners, worse than usual. She immediately suggested it must be food allergies and that people develop them with age. When I asked if she was adding anything different to my food, she got super defensive. She asked if I thought she was poisoning me, and her voice got really high-pitched, which is always her tell when she's upset. I backed down and apologized. She suggested maybe I should see a psychiatrist instead, saying this could be all in my head. Then she brought me some tea that made me feel super drowsy almost immediately. But then I remembered something from when Catherine visited. She pulled me aside at one point and asked if I was taking any medication that might be making me drowsy. When I said no, she got this really concerned look and said, "Something's not right here," but wouldn't elaborate. So last week, I told Pamela I had to go on a business trip for 3 days. I didn't point. I actually stayed at a hotel like 15 minutes from our house and set up some nanny cameras in our kitchen and living room. I know that sounds super invasive, and I feel kind of bad about it, but I was worried she might be having someone over while I was in my zombie state or something. Like maybe she was cheating, and that's why she was so eager for me to go to bed early on certain nights. I honestly didn't know what to expect. What I saw was so much worse than I could have imagined. The footage shows Pamela making dinner, putting mine on a separate plate, and then taking something out of her purse, a small container with pills that she crushes into my food. She does this multiple times over the 3 days. Each time after dinner, she watches me until I fall asleep on the couch, which happens like clockwork about an hour after eating. Then she goes upstairs, changes into party clothes I've literally never seen before, checks that I'm completely out, and leaves the house until like 3 or 4 in the morning. I'm in complete shock. I don't even know what the pills are. I have the footage on my phone, but I haven't confronted her yet. I came back from my business trip yesterday and have just been pretending everything is normal while internally freaking the fuck out. Why would she do this? If she wanted more independence or to go out more, why wouldn't she just talk to me about it instead of literally drugging me? I've never tried to control where she goes or who she hangs out with. Is she cheating? Is this some kind of weird control thing? I don't know what to do. Do I confront her with the evidence? Do I talk to a lawyer first? Should I go to the police? That seems extreme, but isn't drugging someone illegal? Part of me is still hoping there's some explanation that isn't as terrible as it seems, but I can't think of one. Edit. A lot of people are asking if I've had any other symptoms besides fatigue. Yes, sometimes I feel dizzy and confused the next morning, and I've had some memory issues that I thought were just from being tired all the time. And no, I've never had any history of mental health issues or paranoia before all this started. Edit 2. To everyone suggesting I should check what the pills are, I've been trying to figure that out. Next time she leaves the house, I'm going to look for that container she keeps them in. Also, someone asked why I didn't just skip dinner one night to see if I still got tired. I actually did try that once and told her I wasn't hungry, but she got really insistent that I needed to eat to keep my strength up and practically stood over me until I ate. Should have been a red flag, I guess. Edit 3. Some people are suggesting I should save some of the food for testing. That's a good idea. I'll try to grab a sample next time without her noticing. And to clarify about my sister, yes, I've called Catherine and told her what I found. She freaked out and wants me to come stay with her immediately. But I'm afraid if I just leave, Pamela will know something's up. Now for the first update. So first of all, thank you to literally everyone who commented on my last post. I was honestly not expecting thousands of comments, and my phone basically exploded for like 2 days straight. I read as many as I could and really appreciate all the advice and support. A lot has happened since then, and I'm still kind of processing everything, but I wanted to give you guys an update because so many people asked for one. So after my last post, I decided to follow the advice that most people gave me. Document everything and get more evidence before confronting Pamela. I know some people thought I should just go straight to the police, but I wanted to be 100% sure about what was happening, even though deep down I already knew. I spent about 2 more weeks basically pretending everything was normal while secretly recording everything. It was honestly the most stressful 2 weeks of my life, having to eat dinner with someone who you know is poisoning you and act like nothing's wrong. I started doing little things like pretending to eat, but actually throwing most of the food away when she wasn't looking, or saying I wanted to eat in my office because of work deadlines. The big breakthrough came when I managed to get a sample of whatever she was putting in my food and had it analyzed by a lab my friend Logan knows through his work. Turns out it was prescription-strength sleeping medication, specifically the kind that Pamela's friend Zoe gets for her insomnia. Zoe has been Pamela's friend since college and apparently has pretty severe insomnia and gets these strong prescription meds for it. So Pamela was basically stealing her friend's prescription meds and giving them to me without my knowledge. What the actual fuck? I also talked to a lawyer. He basically said what Pamela was doing is super illegal, like potential criminal charges illegal. It's technically assault and could even be attempted poisoning, depending on how a prosecutor wanted to frame it. He told me to document everything, which I was already doing. So this might sound crazy dangerous, but I decided to do one final test just to be absolutely certain. One night when Pamela made dinner, this was about 4 days ago, I suggested we switch plates because I thought her portion looked better than mine. I was trying to sound super casual about it. She got really weird about it, saying her plate was made special for me with the seasonings I like. I insisted and eventually just reached over and swapped our plates anyway. Within like an hour, she was completely out of it. Slurring her words, could barely keep her eyes open, kept saying she felt weird. I had to help her to bed, where she passed out almost immediately and slept for like 12 hours straight. There was no denying it after that. Anyway, I finally confronted her the next evening. I decided to do it at dinner time. Fitting, right? I made dinner myself. She looked super confused when I insisted on cooking, and then sat down across from her but didn't touch my food. She immediately noticed and asked if I was hungry. I just said I had a late lunch. Then she did exactly what I was waiting for. She casually reached for my plate, saying she wanted to add something to it, and pulled out this small container from her pocket. I grabbed her wrist before she could put anything on my food and asked what exactly she was putting in my food. She laughed nervously and claimed it was just a special herb blend she'd been using for months. But her face was getting all blotchy, like it does when she's lying. I told her I knew what she'd been doing and that I'd been recording her. She went completely pale. She tried to pull her hand away, but I held on to the container and took it from her. I had my laptop ready and showed her some of the clips I'd collected over the past few weeks. Clear footage of her crushing pills into my food, watching me pass out, and then leaving the house in clothes I'd never seen before. At first, she tried to deny it, claiming I was misinterpreting what I was seeing, but I just kept playing more clips. Then I told her I had the powder analyzed and knew exactly what it was and where it came from. That's when she started crying hard. She begged me not to call the police and said she could explain everything. Her explanation was, I don't even know what to call it. Basically, she said she felt suffocated in our marriage but loved me too much to ask for a divorce. Said she started going out with her friends about 5 months ago to blow off steam, but was worried I would want to join them or wouldn't approve of the types of clubs they were going to. So instead of talking to me like a normal person, she decided to start drugging me so she could go out without having to have a conversation about it. She swears she wasn't cheating, just dancing and drinking with friends, mainly Zoe. But honestly, how am I supposed to believe anything she says at this point? While she was in the shower later that night, still crying and begging me to forgive her, I checked her phone. The texts between her and her friends, especially Zoe, were enlightening. Lots of messages like, what he doesn't know won't hurt him, and you deserve some fun after being his nurse all day, and he'll be fine. It's not like you're giving him rat poison. I packed a bag that night, and I've been staying at Catherine's guest room for the past few days while I figure out what to do next. The whole thing is just so fucked up. I mean, during the day, she was acting all concerned about my health, taking me to doctors, buying me supplements, pretending to be this caring wife, while actively causing my health problems. I can't even process it. Pamela has been sending me non-stop messages that swing wildly between apologizing profusely and somehow making this my fault. Like somehow I'm controlling and didn't give her enough space, so she had no choice. Which is complete bullshit, because I literally have never prevented her from going out with friends. She could have just said she wanted girls' nights, and I would have been fine with it. But now she's trying to make me think this is somehow my fault. My friend Logan thinks I should go to the police. Says what she did is assault and I should press charges. But I'm honestly so conflicted. Despite everything, I still have feelings for her. We've been together for 8 years. You don't just turn that off overnight, even after something like this. The thing that hurts the most is how she used my legitimate health concerns against me. I really thought I was developing some serious medical condition. I was scared. I was questioning my own body, my own mind. She watched me go through all these medical tests, watched me get more and more worried, and said nothing. How do you do that to someone you supposedly love? Catherine has an even worse theory. She thinks Pamela might have been setting the groundwork for something worse, like maybe trying to get me diagnosed with some condition that would explain away any suspicious symptoms in the future. Catherine pointed out how Pamela kept suggesting specific conditions to the doctors, almost like she was trying to guide them to a particular diagnosis. I don't know if I believe that. It seems extreme, even for what I now know Pamela is capable of, but it's hard not to let my mind go to those dark places now. I honestly don't know what to do next. Part of me wants to believe this was just a really fucked up lapse in judgment that we could somehow work through with intensive therapy. But another part of me knows I can never trust a glass of water from her again. Edit. Several people have asked if I'm feeling better physically. Yes, much better. All the symptoms disappeared within days of not eating her food. It's like night and day, which just confirms everything. Edit 2. To answer the questions about why Pamela would need to drug me just to go out. Apparently, the kind of clubs they were going to were like underground dance clubs that stay open until 4 to 5 a.m. She claims she was worried I'd think it was sketchy, her word, or that I'd want to come along and wouldn't fit in with her friends, again her words, which is honestly so insulting on top of everything else. Edit 3. A lot of people are asking about our earlier separation 3 years ago. That was about having kids. I was ready. She kept saying not yet. We went to counseling, and she convinced me to wait a bit longer. Looking back, I wonder if she never actually wanted kids with me at all. Edit 4. For those asking about my sister, Catherine, yes, she noticed something was off when she visited. She's a nurse and was concerned about my symptoms. She actually pulled me aside during her visit and asked if I was on any medications that might be making me drowsy. When I said no, she got really worried, but didn't want to accuse Pamela of anything without evidence. She's now saying she wishes she had been more direct with her suspicions. Edit 5. Several people have asked about divorce proceedings. Yes, I'm considering it. The lawyer I spoke with specializes in both criminal and family law, and we've discussed potential divorce scenarios. But I'm still processing everything and haven't made any final decisions yet. Now for the second update. So it's been about 6 weeks since my last post. First, thank you to literally everyone who commented and messaged me. I honestly wasn't expecting thousands of responses, and I couldn't reply to everyone, but I read as many as I could. A lot has happened, and I'm still trying to process everything. I've been staying at Catherine's place this whole time. My health has gotten way better physically, obviously, since I'm not being drugged every night. But mentally, that's another story. I've developed this fun new insomnia where I lie awake at night, replaying everything in my head and wondering if there were signs I missed. Like, how did I not notice this sooner? Was I really that oblivious? I basically question everything now, including stuff that happened years ago. It's exhausting. Catherine has been amazing through all this. She's basically been forcing me to eat. Ironic, right? Because I kind of developed this weird thing where I get nervous about food I haven't prepared myself. My friend Logan comes over a lot too, and sometimes literally watches me stare at a plate for 10 minutes before I can bring myself to eat. It's pathetic, I know. So after a lot of back and forth and talking with the lawyer, and Catherine and Logan both pushing me, I decided to take everything to the police. They actually took it pretty seriously when I showed them the videos and the lab results from the food samples. The detective I talked to said what Pamela did was definitely illegal, but he also warned me that prosecuting would be challenging without clear proof that she intended to harm me rather than just sedate me. Apparently, there's some legal distinction there that matters. I don't know. Seems like drugging someone without their knowledge should be illegal regardless of the intent, but whatever. I also hired a private investigator, Catherine's idea, to track what Pamela was actually doing on these nights out. Part of me was convinced she was cheating, but apparently she really was just going to clubs with her friends, mostly Zoe. The PI followed her for like 2 weeks and said she was just dancing and drinking until like 4 a.m. No evidence of hooking up with anyone, which honestly makes this even more confusing to me. Like, you risked our entire marriage and potentially my health just so you could go dancing. You couldn't just tell me that's what you wanted to do. Anyway, after weeks of thinking about what to do, I decided I needed one final confrontation with Pamela, but I wanted to do it right. I knew if it was just the two of us, she'd try to manipulate the situation again. So I planned this whole intervention thing at Catherine's house. I texted Pamela and said I wanted to talk about possibly working things out. I didn't, but I needed her to come. When she showed up, my parents were there, Catherine was there, and I'd even called her brother Don, male 41, who flew in from Colorado. When she walked in and saw everyone, she knew something was up but tried to play it cool, asking why everyone was there. I told her I had something I wanted everyone to see before we talked about our future. Then I played this video I had put together. It wasn't just random clips. I had edited together this comprehensive timeline showing her drugging my food on multiple occasions, with timestamps and everything. The footage showed her checking that I was unconscious before leaving, coming back at 3 to 4 a.m., and there were even clips of her taking off her wedding ring before going out some nights. Everyone was silent. Her brother Don was the first one to speak. He asked her if she realized she could have killed me if I had taken something that interacted badly with whatever she was giving me. She started crying, saying she had researched safe dosages, what the frick, and would never actually hurt me. That's when I told her I'd already been to the police with everything. She completely lost it, started sobbing and begging everyone to understand that she felt trapped in our marriage, but didn't want to hurt me. Said she just needed freedom and space. but was afraid to ask for it directly. Then I played the final clip, something I hadn't even mentioned in my previous posts because I was still processing it myself. It was audio from one of the kitchen cameras, where you could hear her on the phone with Zoe, both of them laughing about how pathetic I looked when I was drugged and passed out on the couch. Zoe asking if I was drooling again, and both of them cracking up. I can't even describe what it felt like to hear that. To hear the person who was supposed to love me more than anyone mocking me while I was literally unconscious because of what she did to me. Everyone in the room just turned and stared at her. Even her brother, who had been kind of protective of her at first, just shook his head and walked out of the room. My mom was crying. Pamela's mom, who has always thought I wasn't good enough for her precious daughter, looked shocked. That public exposure to our families was worse for Pamela than any legal consequences could have been. Her whole image as this caring, devoted wife just completely collapsed in front of everyone who mattered to her. After that, I filed for divorce. My lawyer used the evidence as leverage, and Pamela agreed to a settlement that heavily favored me because she was terrified of the footage becoming public record in a trial. I also sent the evidence to her workplace after finding out she had been using company events as cover for some of her nights out, which is so stupid because what if someone from her company saw her at these clubs when she was supposed to be working? She got put on probation at work, and apparently her friend group totally fractured after everything came out. Zoe even got fired from her job when their mutual friends found out she was supplying prescription drugs to Pamela. One weird development is that Pamela's parents, who again always thought I wasn't good enough for their daughter, have completely flipped and now regularly check in on me. Her dad called me last week just to see how I was doing. It's strange. The district attorney ultimately decided not to pursue criminal charges. Something about the complexities of the case and limited resources and blah, blah, blah. Part of me is angry about that, but another part is just relieved to not have to go through a trial. I have really mixed feelings about how everything went down. Sometimes I feel guilty about the public shaming approach I took with the intervention. But I needed our families to know the truth, so she couldn't spin some bullshit story about why we were divorcing. And honestly, part of me wanted her to feel as exposed and violated as I felt when I discovered what she was doing. I started therapy to deal with all this. My therapist says what I'm experiencing is actually a form of betrayal trauma. I've moved into my own apartment, but installed security cameras even though I live alone. I still struggle with trusting food prepared by others. I haven't eaten at a restaurant since all this happened. Catherine has to text me photos of her making food step by step when she invites me over for dinner. It's ridiculous, but I can't help it. Pamela still sends messages sometimes claiming she's getting help for her issues and suggesting we might reconcile someday. It's like she still doesn't understand the gravity of what she did. There is no coming back from this. You don't get to drug someone for months, laugh about it with your friends, and then act like it was just a little mistake that we can work through. This whole experience has fundamentally changed me. I'm more cautious now, obviously, but also weirdly more appreciative of authentic relationships. Catherine and Logan have been rocks through all this. But will I ever fully trust a romantic partner again? Honestly, I have no idea. Edit. A lot of people are asking if I'm still in contact with Pamela at all. I've blocked her on everything except email, which I keep open only for divorce-related communication. All her attempts to explain or apologize go straight to a folder I rarely check. Edit 2. Several people have asked about the sleeping pills and potential long-term effects. My doctor ran a full panel of tests and said there shouldn't be any permanent damage, but that I was lucky. Apparently, the specific medication she was using can cause respiratory depression if mixed with alcohol, which I occasionally had with dinner. So yeah, her research-safe dosages BS could have literally killed me. Edit 3. To those suggesting I should press charges anyway, despite what the DA said, I get where you're coming from. But my lawyer explained that I could push for it, but the chances of actual jail time were super slim for a first offense with no prior record, especially since there were no permanent physical injuries. The divorce settlement ended up being more punishing financially for her than any legal fine would have been.